Yeah, if you're ever in the Horvat house around like 2:15 p.m. or if it's the late game like 5:15, you hear this, Gino! And it's either good or bad, but Gino's been awesome this season, especially with everything that he's had to deal with, man. Under constant pressure, no
Yep.
sign of a run game, even with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker as his running backs. And I know Kenneth Walker was dinged, but the offensive line has been a big disappointment. DK's been messed up. He's been dinged up. But I like Gino in this spot. He leads the league in dropbacks by a wide margin. Gino to throw 300 yards is plus 240. Seattle, they haven't been able, like I just said, to get any ground game going. That could change this week against this Rams run defense, of course. But I'm excited for this game, man. It's going to close to a pick, so I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game. Kind of like the over in this game. Two teams in the hunt for the division and a playoff spot. You look at that Rams secondary, more than half of the quarterbacks they've faced this season have thrown for at least 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. Looking at Gino's prop, it's already 253 and a half right now, so 300, not that far off. Hopefully we get DK back after his one-game absence. Also, they're going to get their right tackle, Abraham Lucas, back, and that's the main issue for Gino right now, man, is being under constant pressure. He's not throwing from any clean pockets. So, yeah, I'm going to roll with Geno Smith to throw 300 yards, plus 240 over at BetMGM right now.
All right, I like that call quite a bit. I'm going to go with Bo Nix. You heard him there
Love
on the
that.
rejoiner, and I'm not going to go 1 touchdown. I'm not going to go 2 touchdowns. Now, screw that. He is going to go for 3 passing touchdowns. You want to get seduced by the juice? This is real, and it is quite spectacular. Plus 1,000, 10-1 odds on Bo Nix. I have that hat trick through the air, and I think he can get there, quite honestly, taking on the Baltimore Ravens. He did this, as a matter of fact, last week. Did Nix 3 passing touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers, and that Hello Kitty secondary is about as subpar and generally atrocious as Baltimore's, believe it or not. You look at the Ravens, over 28 pass EPAD on the season. They have allowed 4 quarterbacks the last 4 games. All 4 quarterbacks have thrown for at least 3 passing touchdowns against the Ravens. Quote the Ravens, always more, really, is what you should be saying right now. 8.09 pass yards per attempt, 3 and 11.6 pass yards per game. They've given up a league high 17 passing touchdowns as well. And Bo Nix, let's put some respect on his damn name. He is showing steady improvement, particularly in red zone passing on the season now, Horvat. He is number 13 in red zone completion percentage, so nothing to scoff at there. I think the Sean Payton offense is finally starting to come together, and I think Nix is going to have himself an epic performance in back-to-back weeks. So, 1, 2, and 3, mi amigos, 3 passing touchdowns, plus 1,000 for Bo Nix in that matchup on the road in the Charm City against the Baltimore Ravens. All right, let's go to running back and wide receiver, and century sensations of the requirement here, 100 or more yards. You can get creative with it. You can go rushing, you can go receiving, you can go rushing and receiving. Whatever the books are offering you, you just got to hit the century mark in those categories, whether combined or individually. So let's start off with the running back position. Oh, man, I absolutely love this call. I have a prop on him.
Yeah.
I think I discussed it last night. It's 60 or more rush yards at plus 165, but you like him for rushing and receiving. Who is that?
Yeah, I was between 2 guys for this category, and I bet both. I bet Jonathan Taylor to have 100 yards plus 275, but it's the Vikings defense. They are 16th in defensive line yards. But then I scrolled down, and I can't wait to watch this game, even though they've been a little bit of a disappointment. I can't wait to see the Dolphins. Second week back now with Tua, and I have Devon Achane in one fantasy league. He scored me 27 points with Tua back behind center last week. Dolphins, 147 scrimmage yards. And what I was worried about was Raheem Mostert, right? He did have both rushing touchdowns in Week 8, but Devon Achane actually outsnapped him 16-10. He was the more efficient runner, averaged 9.7 yards per carry. Raheem Mostert only averaged 2.1 yards per pop. And if you look at Buffalo this season, they've allowed the most receptions and receiving yards to running backs so far this season. So 100-plus rushing and receiving, the combo, plus 150. On Achane, and I love that for Miami this weekend.
Yeah, I like Devon Achane and the alt markets on the ground. I like the alt market here in rushing and receiving. I may even do the alt market and receiving. Achane should take off. He's got bottle rackets, strapped to his sneakers, so that guy can really take off. And I think he's going to have breakout, or not really a breakout, but a breakthrough performance against the Buffalo Bills this week. I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. Spread a little Bijan there on my sandwich and consume. I'm going to go for a $125 though, and combined rushing and receiving, because that really spikes the juice. So a plus 195 there. Again, working the shoulders, getting seduced by that juice at BetMGM against the Dallas Cowboys. Bijan seeing 65.1% of the opportunity share, and I know Tyler Algier will have a role still on the ground in this game, but Bijan averaging 5.4 yards per touch. That's number 14 among running backs. A decent 2.94 yak per attempt, just outside the top 30 in that category among rushers. But he is top 12 in total missed tackles forced with 23 on the season. He has done this one time this season. It could be two times that he does it, because Dallas is dead last in rush EPA defense, number 32 in the NFL in that category. They are giving up 4.64 yards per carry, 148.4 total yards per game, and not one, but two times two guys have actually done this against them this year. One was Alvin Kamara. I think it's going to be kind of a similar output as a New Orleans Saint, because Bijan can get it done on the ground and obviously through the air. All that guy does is make dudes miss. So Bijan Robinson, combined rushing receiving, 125 yards, plus 195. My century sensation at running back. Let's get a century sensation for you at wide receiver. What do you got for me, Horvat?
Yeah, Bo Nix is going to go off against Baltimore if he's going to score, throw, not 1, 2, 3 touchdown passes. I think Cortland Sutton's going to have to be a big part of that. And he's been consistent all season long, playing between 81 86% of the offensive snaps over the last 4 weeks. Coming off his best game of the season, most productive. He had 100 receiving yards last week, also had 8 receptions, getting better every single week. That Broncos offense is getting better every single week. Sean Payton, maybe I was wrong about Sean Payton. Maybe the game hasn't passed him by. And it's crazy, but like, you would think Baltimore Ravens, bad matchup. Not this season. EPA allowed per play, right now sitting there at number 27. Their catch rate allowed, number 23, is 72% catch rate allowed. Explosive pass plays allowed, their rate, number 32. Even their pass rush grade, that's still decent, sitting there at 10. But just compared to where they were last year with Mike McDonald running the show, this defense is struggling a little bit. So I like Cortland Sutton. It's a little bit of a dart. It's 5-1 for a reason, but 100 receiving yards plus 500. I like that. I think Denver's going to find some success on the offensive side of the ball this weekend.
Oh, look at you copying my paper at thegamingjuice.com, mi amigo. I actually wrote about Cortland Sutton in my Fantasy Flames column at wide receiver. So you and I are congruent, very much on the same page. The fact that, I had that Dunkin' Donuts, franchise that he opened a couple of weeks ago, got back on track last week, and now I got the mother of all matchups, right? I mean, the Ravens are just stanky in that secondary, and he's clearly number one guy, and him and Bo Nix are making some beautiful music on the field together. I think more of the same is on tap here in week number 9.